Let's see if this works. Hopefully this works and you can hear me and you can see me okay, but the chat is not appearing. So I will have a bit of a fiddle around to see if I can get the chat working. The chat is working. Yeah, excellent. I've had a fiddle around and I've got a different layout for this year. And this is the first year that we're doing it live. So hello and welcome to everybody who is joining me for this live stream. The voice is a little distant. It shouldn't be any different than it was the other day. I've got the right microphone on. Yeah, the right microphone is on. So, and the other microphone is off. So it is using this microphone. It should be okay. Is it just Chrissy, or does everybody else think the sound sounds a bit weird? Yeah, anyway, we're here. We are doing my favourite games of 2023. And the reason why it's a little different this year is I'm doing this as a live stream. So for those of you that are confused and wondering why I am doing my top 10 games or the best games of 2023, I've been doing this for quite a while now. I traditionally do my top 10 games of the year way after everybody else. And the reason for that is I personally don't feel comfortable at the end of a year telling you what the best games of that year were, because, for example, there are about 10 to 15 games that I've brought back with me from Essenspiel this year that I haven't played yet. And some of them might make it into my top 10. So for me, it's a bit too soon because I haven't played all of the games yet. But also, some of the games I've only played once. So for example, SETI. SETI is very likely in my top 10 games of 2024, but I've played it once and there just hasn't been enough time to play it more times. So traditionally, for the last few years, I have always done my top 10 games of the year sometime in the year after everybody else. And I've had a bit of an interesting year this year. I was going to do this around springtime. Then I was going to do it around summer. Then there was a phase where I wasn't going to do it at all. And then I said, no, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it as a live stream. And I made a promise to myself that I will get it done before the end of the year, which is why I'm doing it today, because today is the last day of the year. And Happy New Year to everybody for tonight, or if you are one of my Australian followers, you've already had Happy New Year because you are a time traveler from the future. So yes, now what we're going to be doing is, as you can see on screen, we're going to be using the Pub Meeple ranking system. Now this is a great tool. It is freely available, but they do accept donations. I will be donating to them again some money, because I have used this platform myself in the past, and it is a place where you can basically rank games. So what I've done is I have already been through all of the games that were released according to Board Game Geek in 2023 that I have played. That's what I've done. So it is a list of, as you can see, 63 items. But before we start, I'm going to cause a little bit of controversy, because I've been taking some advice from some of the other clickbait YouTube channels. And apparently, if you cause controversy and say things that upset people, you get way more views. So I've decided deliberately to cause a little bit of controversy even before we start. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this list and I'm going to remove 2 of the games from this list. And the first one I'm going to remove is, where is it? It is Le Granja Deluxe Master Set. Now, this was technically a 2023 game, but in my opinion, it is just a new version of the same game. There have been, apart from lots of little modular expansions, the game itself is the same game. It's just a deluxe version of it with much nicer components. So as far as I'm concerned, that game is not a 2023 game. So I'm going to remove it. Feel free to disagree. Gone. The next one I'm going to remove is, and people are going to be upset by this one, the Castles of Burgundy Special Edition. And I know that the Special Edition does come with the Vineyards expansion, which is new. But as far as I'm concerned, that again is just a super deluxe, well-produced, potentially overproduced version of the same game. So I'm not classing that as a 2023 game. Okay, so there's part of the controversy. The controversy continues. It's a 2-for-1 offer because I am keeping Dune Imperium Uprising. Now, I am of the opinion that whilst Dune Imperium Uprising does share a lot of similarities with the original Dune Imperium, I'm classing it as a different game. I feel it is enough different, even if that difference is only 10%, 20%, whatever. I feel it's enough difference to class it as a 2023 game. There you go. I've lost James as a subscriber. Apologies, James. Well, no, I'm not apologising. I am deliberately doing this to try and get more views and follow. I'm joking about that, of course, but yeah. Another game which I am also keeping on here is Great Western Trail New Zealand. And there are some people who think all of the Great Western Trail games are the same. They are wrong, those people. They are scientifically proven to be wrong. Great Western Trail New Zealand, again, it does share a lot of DNA with Great Western Trail, but I'm classing that as a separate entity. So there you go. We are done. We've gone through the stuff, and these are all of the games that I played. And I don't know how this is going to come out. I have a funny feeling which one is my number one game of the year, just from my gut reaction. But we'll see. Now, I last used this system to rank my entire collection. And if you haven't seen this video, about 2 or 3 years ago, over the Christmas holiday period, I did a series of live streams where I used this system and I went through my entire collection. It was a long video. I think it was like 3 2-hour videos or something like that. Apparently, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work for me, and I had to make some agonizing decisions. And I never want to do that again. I'm never going to rank my entire collection again. But that is on the channel now. Go back a couple of years. You will see it. It's Paul ranks his whole collection. And it was done in a very similar way. Graham is saying I would remove Zhanguo as well. Is that on the list? Is that on the list? Zhanguo is on the list. I am going to remove that one as well. Thank you, Graham. I'd missed that one. Zhanguo, the First Empire, is a new version of Zhanguo. But they did tweak some of the rules, but not many. Oh, do I leave it? Do I get rid of it? I'm going to get rid of it. Yeah, it's almost the same game as the original. It's more different than Castles of Burgundy Special Edition and Le Grand Had, but I am going to remove Zhanguo. Right, so we're done. We are down to 60 items. So what happens is you can put in a list of items into Pub Meeple, and you can either add the items from BGG, or you can add in a text list, or however you want to do it. And then what you do is you click rank. And it basically said there's going to be 196 comparisons. So I don't know how long we're going to be here today. It will start off and it just throws 2 games at you, and it's got some clever algorithm running in the background. But it's going to start off quite slow because I'm going to be talking about these games a little bit, but then as we go through it, I will be selecting them a lot quicker, hopefully, because I have about an hour and a half today. Vicky is downstairs. Vicky has been cooking all day yesterday, literally all day. All day today. We have 12 people coming over tonight. We are hosting a New Year's Eve party, and Vicky is cooking 3 main meals, 3 desserts, a whole bunch of side dishes, and I should be tidying the house. Now, in my defence, I think the house tidying is all done. Everywhere is all done, but I've said that I will be about 90 minutes to get this done, and then I will go and help her do all of the preparation. So, yeah, we will see. Right. First up, and I'm going to try and keep an eye on the time today, Perspectives or Septima. Now, a lot of people have heard of Septima from Mind Clash Games, and the general train of thought about Septima seems to a lot of people were disappointed by it. I've not actually played it myself since the game came out, and whilst I did enjoy playing it when it was a prototype, I've never felt that I enjoyed it enough to go back to it. So I have the final version of the game, but I haven't gone back to it yet. And to be honest, I haven't played the final version of the game because they did tweak it since we played the prototype. Perspectives, not a lot of people will know about this. So I need to talk to you about Perspectives because this is a game from Space Cowboys. It's created and designed by Dave Neal. Dave Neal, I am a fan of Dave's. Dave does a lot of narrative-driven games. He did the Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective box number 4. He's done a couple of Unlock scenarios. He's recently worked with David Thompson on the War Story Occupied France game. Perspectives is a really interesting game, but what I will tell you is that box 2 of Perspectives, which I don't think is out yet, but is out soon, it's got a blue box. Box 2 of Perspectives is much better. Each box comes with 3 cases. They are play once scenarios because once you've worked out the puzzle, you can't really replay them. And box 1 was good. but every single case from box 2 was better than all of the cases from box 1. So yeah, if you like that kind of game where there's a puzzle to solve, but it's done in a really interesting way, then check out Perspectives. And it's difficult for me to rank these because Perspectives is a play once game. Once you have played the 3 cases in Perspectives, you can't go back to it again, whereas Septima is your standard Euro game. But my personal preference, and this is potentially because I am a fan of Dave Neal's puzzle style games, I'm going to go with Perspectives on this one, even though I can't actually play that again. Dungeons and Dragons Trial of Tempest and Zoo Vardis. Now, Zoo Vardis, I do not own Zoo Vardis. That is a friend's copy that I've played. But what I can tell you is that Zoo Vardis, designed by Rainer Knizia, is a re-theme and a re-implementation of an old game, which I do own, called, somebody in the chat remind me what it's called, Quo Vadis. That was it, Quo Vadis. And I think Quo Vadis is a really interesting game. It's heavily on negotiation between players, which is not something that I normally do, but it works really well in that game. So Zoo Vardis is an interesting game. Dungeons and Dragons Trial of Tempest. I have covered this on the channel. This is quite an expensive game, and even more expensive if you buy the deluxe version with the painted miniatures. I really wanted to like this game. I really did. And unfortunately, this game was a miss. This game had, and the designer's a really nice guy. The designer is a professional GM. He does lots and lots of the role-playing game, and he's designed this board game, but the board game just had problems. It just didn't work. So I think the game was a bit of a flop. I think it came out, a few people got it. The people who did get it and played it posted about all of the issues with it, and they tried to fix some of those issues with some optional rules and variants, but then the game just disappeared, and I've not seen anybody talking about it or anybody playing it. There could be a good game in there, but I think it needs work. So out of those two, even though Quo Vadis and Zoo Vardis are not my kind of games generally, I think Trials of Tempest does have some fundamental issues that means it doesn't quite work as a game. So we're going to go with Zoo Vardis. Next up, right. These are both potentially top 10 games of me for 2023. I love both of these games. I think I love World Wonders more than Barcelona, but I do not want Barcelona to be moved down this list because Barcelona is my favourite Danny Garcia game. I really like Barcelona, but World Wonders is very special. I have covered both of these on the channel if you're interested, but World Wonders for me was a big hit from last year. So we're going with World Wonders. Now, this is interesting. Both of these games have gone from my collection. So I wasn't keen on either of these games. Let's start first of all with Legends of Andor: The Eternal Frost. I actually quite like the Legends of Andor system. I have the first box, the original box. I have the second box. I don't think I have the third one. This was the fourth one in the series. And I tried this, and I actually did a live stream of this. I don't know whether it was public or whether it was Patreon only, but JP came round and we played the tutorial scenario from this game. And I have to say I was a little disappointed, but I didn't give it a fair crack. The reason why I was a bit disappointed is the tutorial scenario from this game is pretty much the same tutorial scenario that's from the other games, but there was woolliness in the rules. And that's what bothered me, is that this game has been around for quite a long time. This is the fourth iteration of the game, and it seems to be really popular in Germany, which is why there's still stuff coming out for it. But yeah, I was a little disappointed in it. So I moved it on because my house is limited size. I can't keep everything, but I am keeping the first 2 games in the series, and I do want to get back and play them again at some point. Archaeologic. Now, I really wanted to like this game because on the surface of it, this is a game which is exactly the kind of game that me and Vicky would like to play. And I remember that somebody gave me a copy of this, not the publisher, somebody else who'd been given a copy of the game at Essen 2023, and he gave it to me at the end of the show. And I said, why are you giving it to me? He says, I've got it, I played it, I wasn't too keen on it, I thought you might like it. I thought, sure, right, I'd bring it back with you. And we hated it, absolutely hated it. I actually think this game does not work, fundamentally doesn't work. Now, what's really interesting, and I think this is by the same guy that designed Turing Machine, that I've still never played, but is apparently really good and a really good puzzle game. This is also a puzzle game where you get given bits of information and you're trying to work out the answer to the puzzle. But the reason why it doesn't really work is that you all pretty much reach the same conclusion at the same time, and therefore it's whoever went first in turn sequence. And the solo game, which we then tried, the solo game was just like, get a clue. Have we got enough to solve the puzzle? No. Get another clue. Have we got enough to solve the puzzle? No. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Get another clue. Have we now got enough to solve the puzzle? Yes. Try and solve the puzzle. Is it correct? Yes, it is. That was it. That's the game. So for me, there was no game in there. And that was a bit of a miss. So out of those two, definitely Legends of Andor. But there's a little bit of story about them. So Voidfall and 20 Strong, both good games, but I've got to give it to Voidfall on this one for obvious reasons. 20 Strong is a nice little game. It's solo only. It's a dice-based game, which comes with 20 dice. So it is nice. Whereas Voidfall, a lot of people are already probably knowing that Voidfall is very likely to be my #1 game of the year. But the reason I'm giving it to Voidfall in this case is it can be played solo, cooperatively, competitively, and it's amazingly awesome. So we're going with Voidfall. Now, Evacuation and Star Wars the deck building game. I can tell you a story about this. And I think a lot of people are actually tuning in for these stories rather than the actual ranking system. I hope you're enjoying these little stories because this is my opportunity to just talk completely openly about these games. Star Wars the deck building game is based on the Star Realms system. I absolutely hate the Star Realms game. I think it is one of the worst games ever, and I just think it's a complete and utter lookfest. And anybody who says, oh, a quick game is a good game, no, I'm sorry, but a quick game is a quick game. Just because it's a quick game doesn't mean it's a good game. I found Star Realms awful. I found the decision space very, very minimal. I found that the choices were obvious about which cards you draft, and then it is just a complete look factor. Now, I have played Star Realms, despite hating the game, probably about 50 to 100 times on the app, because there is an app and you can literally play a game in 2 or 3 minutes. And the reason why I don't think it works as a game is I can play a game, and in that game, I could get an absolute lucky run of cards and win the game easily, like absolutely easily. Then I can play the next game. My skill level has not changed between those two games. I am making the same choices that I made in the previous game, and yet I will lose it completely. And that's my problem with the game. Just because it's quick doesn't make it a good game. I can win or lose a game just based on factors that are totally out of my control. And I know I'm probably upsetting people here, but I really hated Star Realms as a game. Star Wars, the deck building game, is based on Star Realms, and yet I actually enjoyed it. Now, I enjoyed it for 2 reasons. First of all, it's Star Wars, rather than just some random sci-fi races, right? So it's Star Wars. It still does have some of the fundamental issues that I had with Star Realms, but it has some tweaks, and I think those tweaks make the game better. So I actually enjoyed Star Wars, the deck building game, and I've recently got the Clone Wars, which I want to cover on the channel, and you can merge them together to play a 4-player game of it, which I want to do. Now let's move on to Evacuation. Evacuation could have potentially been one of my top 10 games of 2023. I have played it 5 times, I think, and I do want to play it once more, maybe twice more, because I've still not used the advanced version of the cards. And Evacuation is a really interesting game, because my first game I loved it. My second game I still loved it. My third game I really enjoyed it. And by my 4th game I went, wait a minute, I'm doing exactly the same thing in every game. The objective is that you're trying to evacuate from one planet to another planet, and you've got 4 rounds to do so. And I think there is a kind of optimum way of doing it, at which point you're kind of just doing roughly the same thing with some little tweaks here and there. Not sure. I have played both modules. I actually personally think that both modes of play, both the race mode and the points mode, I think they're both valid. I think they both work as games. I think I slightly prefer the points mode, but I think the race mode is still a good game. And yeah, my only concern with it is that you end up in a pattern of, in the first round, you have to buy a ship, and then you start moving stuff across, and yeah, I'm not sure. Out of the two, I'm going to go with Evacuation. I don't know if anybody expected that, but I am actually going to go with Evacuation. Now then, two games that I want to talk about here because I think both of these games are not that well known. First of all, Mother of Frankenstein. I only got a copy of this game because I have a good working relationship with the publisher, and the publisher is not the original publisher of the game. This is another one that Arcane Wonders picked up and did the distribution of. Mother of Frankenstein is a three-part, and each part comes in its own box, but oddly enough, there is only one BGG entry for the game. But there are three boxes, chapters 1, 2, and 3. Each one will take you about 5 to 6 hours to play. It is an escape room style, puzzle style game with quite a bit of narrative, and the puzzles in it are exceptional. With box 3 was a little bit of a letdown, but box 1, some of the puzzles in box 1 were fantastic, and box 2 was really enjoyable as well. And yes, Rick, you do need to play it because it is really, really good. But I don't think many people know about this game. And yeah, we were really impressed by Mother of Frankenstein. We have played through all three parts of it. As I say, part 3 was a little weak, but parts 1 and part 2, really clever, really well done. Spellbook is a game that came out in 2023, which nobody else seems to like except for me. I really like Spellbook, and yet it didn't go down well, and it wasn't popular, and it hasn't had any of the expansion sets that I think I was hoping it would get. Now, I do play Spellbook with a house rule, because one of the criticisms of the game is that it's a bit too slow to get started, which means everybody's first few turns, you're playing for a few minutes and nothing's really happening. So I have a house rule for that game, which I believe I still haven't put up on my list. So I have a geek list on Board Game Geek where I go through all of my house rules for games. And I think I still have an outstanding taskette on my list of things to do, is to update my house rule list with Spellbook. But it is basically a quick start that skips the first 2 turns of the game and gets everybody in and playing. I really like Spellbook. I think it's a very, very good game. But out of the two, I'm going to have to go with Spellbook. Oh, this is a really difficult decision. Am I going to go with Spellbook or am I going to go with Mother of Frankenstein? I want to... Oh, this is actually the most difficult choice I've got. I'm going to go with Mother of Frankenstein. There you go. Done. Right. Now then, Skytear, Horde and Nucleum. Both good games. Nucleum, many people's number one game from 2023. I very, very much enjoy Nucleum, and I was one of the people who was demoing Nucleum at Essen 2023. It is a great game. There is absolutely no denying it's a great game. However, I'm probably about 8 games into Nucleum now, and I have huge respect for the game, and I think the game is a great game, and I do think the game's a very, very good game. I don't think I will ever be able to play it well. That's not a problem with the game. That's a problem with me. I'm just not good enough to be able to work out how to play that game well. And it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it. And as I say, that's not a problem with the game. Skytear Horde I really like. Now, if you are, Skytear Horde is a 1, 2 or 3 player kind of lane defense, tower defense card game, but the 3 player rules are that 2 players are playing together to try and defeat the Horde, and the 3rd player is the Horde. I have heard that nobody plays that game. Most people play Skytear Horde as a solo game or as a cooperative game, and it is basically choose a particular enemy, choose a faction. It's a card game, you know, a little bit like a lot of other card games, but you have monsters coming forward and you're trying to block and everything else. It is a good game. I think Skytear Horde Monoliths, which was released the year after, in other words, this year, is a better game. So out of the two, this isn't a contest. Nucleum is the better of the 2 games, but Skytear Horde Monoliths is actually a really good game. So we're giving that one to Nucleum. Now then, Dice Manor and Halls of Hegra. Okay. Halls of Hegra I've only played once. A friend of mine who's been on the channel many times, Pete. Hello, Pete, if you're watching this video. Pete, I lent my copy of the game. The publisher sent me a copy of the game. I lent it to Pete. Pete learnt it. He played it. He came round, and we've covered this on the channel. In fact, I've covered Dice Manor on the channel as well. Halls of Hegra Me and Pete, it's a solo game. It's a solo game only, but me and Pete played it together as one, with him kind of teaching me how to play. I did enjoy the game, and what I really liked about the game is that I like games that teach me something about history, and I also like games which focus on a particular part of history that I'd never heard of. So this is all about the Norwegians building up the defences in World War II from the invading Germans. It's part of World War II that I knew absolutely nothing about, and the game manages to capture, not that I was there, but it captures the struggle and the feel and the fact that you're having to dig out the cannons which have been there for 10 years from the snow because the Germans are coming over the hill, and struggling for provisions and everything else. It really does do that. My only issue with Halls of Hegra as a game is that once the downward spiral starts, there's no recovering from it. And that might be realistic, or it might be just be how the game goes. I have only played it once, but I've spoken to a few other people and they said, yeah, it's pretty much like that. So if you're playing the game, you might get to a point where you think, oh, okay, we've not done well enough at the start of the game, therefore we already know now that we're not going to be able to win. I'm not sure how I feel about that from a game design point of view, but the game is a good game and it's really well designed. Now, Dice Manor, and not a lot of people might know this, I did a sponsored stream for this. Dice Manor is a really nice game. It's a lightweight game, it's a family weight game, simply just placing dice in a manor, and you're building up your manor house and everything else, and it plays really nicely and it plays really smoothly and really quickly. These are both good games, and I do want to play Halls of Hegra again. Halls of Hegra has not left my collection. I made a decision 2 months ago. Do I want to keep this game and give it another go, or do I want to move it on? And I know it's sad to move a game on after only one game, but I do have limited space. I'm going to give it to Halls of Hegra, and I want to play it again. Age of Innovation or Footprints. This is an easy one. This is a really easy one. Age of Innovation is a fantastic game. I personally feel it is an improved version of Terra Mystica. I prefer Gaia Project to Age of Innovation. I felt Age of Innovation was, whilst a better game, it was a little step too far in terms of the complexity. And if I played it 4 or 5 times, I'd be okay with it. But every time I've played Innovation, and I do want to play it more, and it's on Board Game Arena, so that will help, but I feel a little bit lost, like, oh, there's a whole part of the game that I don't understand how this bit works. Whereas Gaia Project is in my top 10 games of all time. So Footprints was a good game. Now, Footprints was let down, and this is a bit of a shame because the publisher has done some really good games over the last few years, and this is a good game, but the graphic design of this game wasn't good. It was like the graphic designer had gone on holiday to Greece and left somebody else in charge and gone, oh, I'll tell you what, let's just put these colours here and this. Everything about the graphic design of this game was not good. Now, I'm talking graphic design here rather than artwork, because the artwork was thematic. It's about cavemen exploring and travelling along. So the artwork is, kind of drab and things like that. But graphic design is how clear the iconography is. And when you've got small black numbers over a brown icon, it's just, yeah. So that let it down. This is an easy choice. Even if Footprints had really good graphic design, Age of Innovation is the better game. Shoes Tactics and Earth. This is another easy one. Earth is a lot of people's number one game of 2023. And if it's not their number one, I think most content creators who have done top 10 videos for board games released in 2023, Earth is probably on there. It was a huge hit, and please bear in mind, I have a personal and a professional relationship with the publisher. Conor McGoey, the CEO of Inside Up Games, has been to this house with his family. He has visited here with his entire family, and we are friends with them. So please bear that in mind when I talk about this game. Shoes Tactics was a print and play Kickstarter that they contacted me about, and the designer of the game was a fan of my videos and wanted me to cover it on the channel. I'm actually in Shoes Tactics. Grogan the Grey is a character from Shoes Tactics. If you have that, I don't know if you can still get it, but yeah, it's there. So based on that, it's got to be Shoes Tactics because I'm in the game. No, I'm kidding. Out of the two, I have only played Shoes Tactics a couple of times, but I think Earth is the better game. Right. Anunnaki, Dawn of the Gods, and Rebuilding Seattle. Okay, I want to talk about Anunnaki because Cranio Creations have a bit of a bad reputation when it comes to their Kickstarters. Everything about running the Kickstarter, managing the Kickstarter, dealing with all of the customer service queries post Kickstarter, and quality control issues of the game that was on Kickstarter. Now, Cranio Creations, they are a client of mine. I do various bits of work for them, and I think I did a sponsored stream of Anunnaki when it was on Kickstarter, the first time or the second time. But I can understand the criticism that they get, and they do a lot of really good games, but every time they seem to use Kickstarter, there always seems to be something that goes wrong. I know the Barrage Kickstarter had all sorts of problems, and I think the Kickstarter for this didn't go smoothly. The game is a really good game. This is unfortunately a game that's in a big box, and I want to keep this game because I want to play it more, and it's a big box game, and the problem with it is that it's taking up more space than it needs to, but I want to play Anunnaki more. I think it's a really solid game, and on the surface it looks like this could be a 5-6 hour epic game. It's not. It's like a 2.5 hour game. It's really streamlined. I love the action selection mechanism, and the game has it is pretty streamlined despite looking like this big epic game with loads going on. So I think Anunnaki is a very good game. Rebuilding Seattle, I think, is an amazing game. I think Rebuilding Seattle is an underrated game that not a lot of people know about, and I think it is fantastic. Now, again, I have a good working relationship with WizKids. I did a little bit of work on the rulebook for this game, and I did a sponsored playthrough video of this game. So just so you know, both of these games I was professionally involved in. But if you haven't tried Rebuilding Seattle, it is such a solid game. I've got to give it to that one. And I think Rebuilding Seattle is actually going to be really high on my list. So yeah, I'm definitely keeping that one. Rebuilding Seattle. Done. FTW and Bot Factory. Now, FTW is a little card game from Freedom and Freezer that I picked up at Essen 2023, and it's great. It's really, really good. It's really clever. I really like it, and I've played it a whole bunch of times. Bot Factory is a Vital Lacerda co-design, which is a sort of like a 90-minute playing game, and it's much lighter than his other games. It's not like a super light filler game. I think Vital called it a filler once, and I fell out with him because I said, Vital, it's not a filler game. A filler game is 15 to 20 minutes. And Vital's opinion is that anything less than a 3-hour game is a filler game. So Vital calls it a filler game. It's not. It's a light Euro. Well, no, it's probably a medium weight Euro game. It's lighter compared to all of his other games. Out of those two, I think Bot Factory is the better game. FTW, though, is a really nice little fun card game that just worked really well. So we're going to give that one to Bot Factory just to keep Vital happy. Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught and The Warp. Right, now I've got thoughts on both of these games. First of all, Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught. This is another Dungeons and Dragons game from WizKids. So we've already talked earlier on in this video about the Dungeons and Dragons Trials of Tempest. Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught was another game that I was very excited about, but it didn't hit the mark for me. Now, one of the reasons why it didn't hit the mark for me is I get really uncomfortable when I'm playing games and there's a rule question that I have which is not covered in the rulebook. I mean, that happens, and a lot of people just go, oh, well, it's not clear in the rulebook, let's make something up and let's just move on and carry on playing. I would love to be like that. However, my personality makeup means I can't do that. I just feel really uncomfortable, and I'm like, well, no, there is a right rule out there somewhere, and I need to know what that right rule is. I need to play this game the way it was intended. And I remember when I was playing Dungeons & Dragons Onslaught, and they've probably fixed it now with various bits of FAQ and things like that. But yeah, I was having a number of those issues with the game. But I was really excited about it. And the reason why I was really excited about it is way, way, way back when, this is when I was still playing D&D. So we're going back 10, 15 years ago now. They released a Dungeons and Dragons miniatures skirmish game. And what you did is you bought these packs of miniatures and it was randomized. It was like a CCG kind of thing. It was randomized what minis you would get in these little packs. And I spent hundreds and hundreds of pounds on these miniatures, not to play the game, but because I used them for my role-playing games. So I've got a massive box filled with all of these pre-painted D&D miniatures, which Rick has borrowed from me. So Rick is using them at the moment when he's playing D&D, which is great that they're actually getting used. But there was a miniatures game that was created for these miniatures, even though I don't think many people actually played it. Most people just bought them to use in their role-playing games. And Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught, I think, was the next version of that. It didn't come with packs that you were randomized or anything like that. It came with fixed miniatures. But I think it was that kind of game. And it was a skirmish game, roughly based on the D&D rules. And I really wanted to like this game. But something about it, it just didn't quite hit the mark. Now, I have kept this game. This game is still in my collection. And I know WizKids contacted me about it sometime a few months ago and said, we're going to try and get you to go back to Onslaught. And I'm like, okay, well, if the system has improved, then I'm all up for it. I'm absolutely up for a D&D themed skirmish game that, you know, me and Rick or whoever can play in like an hour and a half or something like that. But it wasn't quite that at the time. The Warp is an interesting game, and I have covered this on the channel. I don't think I've done any sponsored coverage of this game. But the Warp is an interesting one, and I think I've played it a few times. I'm trying to remember now. I think it plays quite nicely, and it's interesting, and it's different, and I've covered it on the channel. Out of those two, I'm going to have to give it to the Warp, although it's close. Neither of those games, I think, are great games. Onslaught could be better if the rules issues were sorted out. And as I say, they may have already sorted it. I'm really curious. If you've played Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught and it is a great game and I'm missing something, let me know. Let me know. But I'm going to give this one to the Warp. Next up, oh God, right. Kutna Horror, The City of Silver. CGE's game from 2023. I am personally friends with the designer of this game, or one of the designers of this game. I am personal friends with, and I have shared a hotel room with many, many a time. Hegemony, I have a professional working relationship with the publisher of this game, and they sent me a Christmas card, which is over there. I'm going to give it to Hegemony, and I don't think many people will agree with me on this one. I don't think many people will disagree with me on this one. I think even if you're a fan of Kutna Horror, I think Hegemony deserves all the praise it gets from, you know, reviewers and games players and everything else. I think Hegemony is something special. And having played both, I've played Kutna Horror 2 or 3 times. I've played Hegemony about 5 or 6 times. I think Hegemony is the better game out of the two. Okay. Cuzco or Shipyard 2nd Edition. Now, I tell you what, I probably should have removed Shipyard. I'm going to remove Shipyard for the same reasons that I removed the other games early on. Shipyard 2nd Edition came out in 2023, and I'm really glad it came out because Shipyard by Vladimir Suchy, I think, is a great game. I got the original version of Shipyard when it came out in, I want to say 2007. It was either 2007 or 2008. I think it was 2008. I think League of Six was 2007. But I'm going to remove it because Shipyard 2nd Edition is the same game, just with a complete overhaul of graphics and components and everything else. And Cuzco's really good, but Shipyard is going out. Are you doing to remove Shipyard from the ranking process? Yes. Okay. So, SideQuest Nemesis and Amygdala. So, SideQuest is a series of games from Board and Dice. And again, full disclosure here, I have a very good working relationship with Board and Dice. And their SideQuest series of games are escape room style puzzle games. They've done a Frostpunk one. They've done a Nemesis one. They've done an Isle of Cats one. And they've done a one I've not played before. What's the one I've not played? It's some role-playing game, swashbuckling, piratey role-playing game. Seventh Sea. Thank you, Graham. Side Quest Nemesis is amazing. So these puzzle games, we've not played the Seventh Sea one, but the Nemesis one, the Frostpunk one, amazing. I wasn't fully 100% convinced by the Isle of Cats one. Some of the puzzles in that were a little bit odd, but we like puzzle games anyway, and the puzzles in this one were really good. Amygdala, I have covered this on the channel. So I've done a sponsored playthrough of Amygdala on the channel from Game Brewer. Now, Game Brewer are sadly no longer with us, but I will be honest with you, even though I did a sponsored playthrough of this game, I wasn't keen on Amygdala for a couple of reasons. The first one, the colours and the style of the whole look and the whole feel of the game, it grated against me. Now, it was supposed to be thematic, but it looked a bit off-putting. Also, the game is a completely abstract game. Now, I don't mind some abstract games, but this game was just a bit quirky, and I was happy once I'd played it 2 or 3 times that I'm done with it. There wasn't anything in there that made me interested enough to go back. Now, if you do like Amygdala, I want to hear from you, because every game does have its audience. One really interesting thing about the design of Amygdala is that you started the game with a whole load of money, which doesn't fit with the theme whatsoever, but you have all of this money, and you're spending this money in order to do various things. And then the first time you play the game, you get like halfway through the game, and you're like, right, so how do I get more money again? Where's the income phase, or what do I need to do to get more money? And you're like, no, you don't. And you're like, oh, right. That money that you have at the start of the game, that is your resource that you will spend over the course of the game. And that's quite interesting as it goes. But anyway, I didn't really like Amygdala, and I think Side Quest was great. Great Western Trail New Zealand and Pyramido. Now, Pyramido, I played once at Essen 2023, and it was a really good game. This is just, I remember playing it. It was in the hotel on the Wednesday night. I think Luke Hector taught me how to play it. Now, people in the chat remind me, Pyramido is a better version of what? I said it at the time, and I can't remember now what it's a better version of, but there is a game where you're taking tiles and placing them, and Pyramido does that, but Pyramido plays over 3 rounds. And in round 1, you're placing the base of the pyramid, and then in round 2, you're placing on top the next layer, and in round 3, you're placing the 3rd layer. King Domino. Thank you, Chrissy. Yeah, I think Pyramido is a better version of King Domino. That's it. You've got these domino-style tiles where you're trying to match them up. And yeah, I really liked Pyramido. I have only played it once. Great Western Trail New Zealand is, in my opinion, the best of the Great Western Trail games. I absolutely love Great Western Trail New Zealand, and I would only ever play base original game Great Western Trail with people who hadn't played a Great Western Trail game before, because I personally feel that Great Western Trail New Zealand, I think it is a more complex game, and since Great Western Trail is already quite a complex game, yeah, I think Great Western Trail New Zealand, for people who are new to the Great Western Trail series, is quite a lot. But I do really love Great Western Trail New Zealand. I'm not going to be surprised if that's in my top 5. So it's going with that one. Right, how are we through? We're 45 minutes into the stream, and we're not very far through. Okay, Marvel Age of Heroes and Plantanubo. So here's a story about both of these games. Marvel Age of Heroes is still in my collection. Plantanubo is no longer in my collection. But I'm going to go with Plantanubo. The reason why Plantanubo is no longer in my collection is I have played it either 4 or 5 times, and whilst I think it is a good game, every time I went back to playing it, the overhead of having to relearn it again and then teach other people, it wasn't quite worth it. It is a very good game. I do enjoy the game, and I think it is a good game, but I felt it was just a little bit too much on the complex side. And saying that, it sounds weird me saying that, because I do play complex games, but there were parts of the games that there was parts of the game that were a little fiddly. There were also issues with the rulebook and things like that. So I've got my money's worth out of Plantanubo, even though I got given the copy for free. And I think it is a good game, but I made a decision that I wasn't going to play this again. I have had my plays of it. I am now done with this game, and I gave it to a friend of mine who really liked the game. So Plantanubo, I got it. It's to the 2023 game, but that picture there is the Devere cover, and I believe Devere are publishing it either this year or next year, something like that. So yeah, the version I've got is from the original publisher Game Builders. Now, Marvel Age of Heroes. So we're here again. This is a WizKids game, and this is a game which I think kind of flopped. It's another one, unfortunately, from WizKids. I mean, they had Rebuilding Seattle that was amazing, but Age of Heroes didn't quite hit the mark. There's two reasons for this. On the surface, there is a lot to like about Marvel Age of Heroes. In fact, not just on the surface. If you go deeper down into Marvel Age of Heroes, there's a number of things about it that are quite cool. And I'm friends with people who are huge Marvel fans. I'm a huge Marvel fan as well. And it's really interesting because some people felt there's no theme in this game whatsoever, and there actually is. If you look at the individual cards and the characters, the abilities on those cards represent what that character is known for doing. And that was quite a cool thing in the game. But the two issues I had with the game is, first of all, it wasn't cooperative. And not only was it not cooperative, there wasn't a cooperative mode. So it feels really weird that you are all playing Marvel characters and you're all part of the X-Men and you're all going to the same X-Men training grounds and you're all doing this. But it's a competitive game. And that didn't sit thematically. It was a game about trying to get the most points. And the other issue that I had with the game is ultimately when you stripped away the nice theme and the parts of the game which were quite cool, it was I'm going to send my workers to this place and I'm going to gain these abilities and I'm going to increase my stats like my strength and my intelligence or my power or whatever they were called. And then to go and fight the bad guys, I need to spend those resources. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this is a recipe game. And I personally, this year, I've started to get a little bit jaded by Euro games with tracks, where you move up a track and you land on a space and there's an icon on that space and that icon tells you to do a certain thing for no reason whatsoever. I'm getting a little bit jaded with them. And also, I'm getting a little bit jaded by recipe games. And yeah, games where, and a recipe game is a game where you do certain things in the game to gain certain resources, and then you do other things in the game to spend those resources to do things that gets points. And there's a lot of games that are like that, and I'm just getting a little. It's not interesting for me. The fact that I go there and get 3 red cubes, and I go there to get 2 yellow cubes, and now that I've got those 3 red and 2 yellow, I go over here to beat up this bad guy, and what does he need? He needs 3 red cubes and 2 yellow cubes. So I go there, get the resources, go there and spend the resources to beat them up, and what does it get me? 8 points. I want more in a game than that these days. So out of these two, I'm going to give it to Plantanubo. And the reason why Marvel Age of Heroes is still in my collection is that I'm hoping that they do a cooperative mode for it. But I don't think the game was that popular, and I don't think it's going to get any more. But we'll see. Plantanubo it is. Evenfall or The Glade. Now, full disclosure here. The Glade, designed by Richard Breeze. I am good friends with Richard Breeze. Me and Richard Breeze, we've been friends for about 10 years. I've covered a number of his games on the channel. I have covered this one on the channel. I do some professional work with Richard. I help him with his rule books, and I do playthroughs for some of his games, but I didn't get on with The Glade at all. The Glade is a game which definitely has a niche audience. It is basically like Rummikub, but with some tweaks. But it's not for me. I played it a few times, and it was okay, but it is definitely not the kind of game that I would want to play personally myself. Evenfall, I think, was fantastic. I really enjoyed Evenfall, and if you are a regular follower of mine and you follow my channel, I picked up the expansion for Evenfall at Essen 2024, and I will be getting to cover Evenfall on the channel probably February 2025. So Evenfall has already been covered on the channel if you're interested in that, but I will be covering it with the expansion in 2025. So yeah, Evenfall I think is a great game. Really, really good game. I didn't quite get on with Glade. Earthborn Rangers or Mythwind. Now, I have lots of thoughts on both of these games. Let's talk about Mythwind first. I was super excited by Mythwind, and one of the things that Open Owl Studios, who I have a professional working relationship with, and I have done a sponsored playthrough of Mythwind, one thing that they are doing at Open Owl Studios is that they are breaking the mold on games. Mythwind definitely broke the mold on games. They've got a storybook game, which was talked about in my live show that I did with Derek the other day, that's also breaking the mold on games. And there was so much about Mythwind that I was super, super excited about. This is a game which is just a leisurely... It's basically like a computer game. But you are farming, or you are going off hunting, or you're doing whatever. But this is a game that you can just play forever. There's no big bad guy. There's no enemy boss. There's no... the game, theoretically, you could play forever. Because it is about, if you're the farmer, running your farm and everything else. Now, you're probably not going to play it forever. What you're probably going to do is you're probably going to play one character for maybe 3 seasons, 4 seasons, 5 seasons, and then go, all right, okay, I'm going to put that character to one side for now, and now I'm going to play a different character, and I'm going to see how that character plays. And the concept of this game is really good, and they've done a really good job with the production quality of the game, and it looks really nice, and you've got these storage trays. There's so much about this game that there was to like. However, we ran into some issues with the game, and I believe those issues are going to be fixed in the next print run. And some of those issues really disappointed me. I'm like, you've done this big Kickstarter, you've made loads of money, you've spent so much time creating this game and printing this game, and it's gone out there to people, and there are issues with the game. And those issues are all being fixed in the next print run. And I'm hearing these more and more, and this is another thing that bothers me about the state of the industry, is that lots of games are coming out on Kickstarter which have issues in the first printing, and then it's taking a second printing to fix those issues. And I'm not talking errata here. I'm not talking typos or errata. I'm talking fundamental issues with the game itself. And I'm keen to go back to Mythwind, but only once they've released the update pack for the reprint, because some of the characters really didn't work, and some of the characters were a bit broken, and yeah, I want to go back to it, so it's still in my collection. Earthborn Rangers. If I was to do my top 10 biggest regrets of 2024, and yes, I mean 2024, my number one biggest regret of this whole entire year, games related, is that I didn't get time to play Earthborn Rangers. I have dabbled with Earthborn Rangers a little bit. I have just seen the tip of the iceberg with Earthborn Rangers, and I loved it. And it actually, I'm getting a little bit emotional because I'm disappointed in myself. I loved that game so much, and we've got to the end of the year and I've not covered it. I have allowed myself to get swept up by so many other things that have been going on that I haven't gone back to Earthborn Rangers, and that's really disappointing me. I think the game is incredible at what it was doing, and I have only just scratched the surface with it. It is it's an open world exploration game, but there is also a story. And I played through the tutorial of that game probably 4 times with different people while I was learning how to play. The rulebook's not great. The rulebook was a struggle. In fact, I would go so far as saying the rulebook was bad. It was a bad rulebook and a bad tutorial. But the game, once you get to grips with the game, was incredible. And I will never forget, JP came round here one evening and we sat down and I went, right, screw the tutorial. I've played it 5 times. I want to play the campaign. I want to actually start playing the campaign and seeing what this game has to offer. And we started playing it, and it was again, I've only just played that starting session, but it was like, wow, this is great. And we went somewhere and we got this little side quest, and I felt that I was immersed in this world. I had this map, we could go wherever we wanted. I had little side quests going on. Apparently there's a main story. The main story doesn't start until day 3. We didn't get that far. But everything that I saw about this game just ticked all of my boxes and made me want to play it more. And I didn't. So there you go. I hope you're enjoying these personal stories. Earthborn Rangers is by far the better game. Hybrid, Disordered Cosmos, or Undaunted Battle of Britain. Okay, so 2 more games that I was professionally involved in. Undaunted Battle of Britain is from Osprey Games. It is one of the games in the Undaunted series. It was the game that came out in 2023. I have a very good relationship with both David Thompson and Trevor Benjamin, and Osprey Games are one of my clients, and I did a sponsored playthrough of this. Paul Snuggs came over and we played a couple of scenarios of Undaunted Battle of Britain. Hybris Disordered Cosmos, I have covered on the channel. I did a tutorial and playthrough video. That wasn't sponsored, but I did the rulebook for Hybris Disordered Cosmos and its expansion. So I have a professional involvement with that game, not from a video point of view, but from a rulebook point of view. Back in the day when I used to do rulebook writing, Hybris was one of the rulebooks that I did, and it was one of the hardest games that I did the rulebook for. And I don't quite know why, because the game isn't overly complicated, but there are parts of it which definitely feel a little fiddly. And that makes it harder to write the rulebook for, because you've got to kind of, write it in such a way that you know it's fiddly, you know this is going to be hard to explain, but I'll try and explain it. Both of these games are still in my collection. Hybris is a really interesting game. And I have to say, again, full disclosure here, in the 2.5 years that I think I was working on the rulebook for this game, I got to know the designer of this game and we became personal friends. And I have absolute respect for the amount of effort and time that he's put into this game, because it's a phenomenal achievement. And the artwork for the game is stunning, and the production quality of the game is absolutely stunning. And it was another Kickstarter where there was like, okay, and then there's going to be this expansion and this expansion and this expansion. And I was having this conversation with somebody this morning about Unconscious Mind. And I'm like, I think the base game of Unconscious Mind is enough for me. And I've got all of these expansions. I'm probably never going to get to play them. I felt the same with Hybris. Once I'd played the finished version of the game of Hybris, I'm like, that's it for me. I'm happy with this. I don't want any more. I don't want any extra complexity. And yet, we've got all of these extra modules with all of this extra stuff. It's a game I want to go back to again. I'm uncertain about it. There are parts of Hybris Disordered Cosmos, which I think are a really good game. There are some parts of it which I wasn't too keen on. The biggest problem with the game, and I remember speaking to them, and I think they said they're going to fix this in the reprint, is the iconography was way too small. It literally needed to be double the size that it was. I struggled with the game, and this might just sound like it's cosmetic, but all of these factors contribute to my enjoyment when playing a game. And if I'm struggling to see the icons, which means a player might make a mistake because it looked like one thing and it wasn't, and a couple of the icons are confusing, that is going to detract away from the enjoyment of the game. So my enjoyment of a game comes from a holistic thing. It's the rulebook being clear, the graphic design being clear, not just the game itself. I don't know how many people agree with that. I'm going to give this one to Undaunted Battle of Britain. I think it is the better game. Hybris is a completely different game though. Right, we're going to have to speed up. Hoplomachus Remastered or Oros. I've covered both of these on the channel. I have a good working relationship with Lucky Duck Games. I also have a very good relationship with Chip Theory Games. Oros, I played it a few times and I have covered it on the channel, and I thought it was a good game, but it is not the kind of game for me. I thought it was a nice game in the way that you moved. You're basically moving land around, and when you crash land together, it makes a mountain. And if it's more than 5, then it makes a mountain with a volcano. That bit was really nice. But I struggle with games where I need to sort of visualize, oh, if I move that over there, that's going to push that there. The board kind of represents a 3D globe, and you can move things around on the go. So I think Oros was a good game. Hoplomachus Remastered, I think is an amazing, fantastic game. Now, you might say Hoppler Marcus Remastered should not be a 2023 game because it is an updated, improved version of the original Hoppler Marcus. I'm keeping it in here because I have never played the original Hoppler Marcus. And I know that's just making my own rules, but this is my stream. Nobody's here to tell me off, apart from Colin. Colin can tell me off. But I'm keeping it in there, and out of those two, this is easy. Hoppler Marcus Remastered. Forest Shuffle and Pirates of Maracaibo. Okay, I'll try to speed up. Both of these games are good. I prefer Pirates of Maracaibo. And if you're interested, Pirates of Maracaibo will be the first stream that I do in 2025. On Friday of this week, I'm going to be covering Pirates of Maracaibo with the expansion. I've already covered the base game of it, and I'm going to be covering it with the expansion. That's happening this Friday if you are interested in that. There will be a practice game in the afternoon if you're a patron supporter, and the public stream will be in the evening. Forest Shuffle is a very good game. Pirates of Maracaibo is a very good game. I prefer Pirates of Maracaibo. Although I do enjoy Forest Shuffle, it does have the same problem that a lot of these games have, is were you lucky to get the right cards, or were you not lucky to get the right cards? Oh, I'm going to do a butterfly strategy, and I happen to have drawn lots of cards which are butterflies. Great. Or I've managed to draw no butterflies whatsoever. So Pirates of Maracaibo doesn't have that. I think it's the better game for me. Fliptown or Vienna? Interesting. So Fliptown, I've covered both of these on the channel. I've covered Fliptown. It was a sponsored playthrough video. It's a nice little roll. Well, it's not a roll and write game. It's a flip and write game, which uses a deck of cards. You're trying to make poker hands. And Vienna is one of the City Collection games, which I covered when it was on Kickstarter, but I haven't covered. No, I did. I did the how to play video for Vienna. I don't think I've done a playthrough, or maybe I did. Maybe I did. Anyway, Vienna is the re-implementation of La Isla, the older Steffenfeld game. Fully updated. It's not just a re-theme. They've added a lot more to it. Out of these two, I actually prefer Vienna. I did enjoy Fliptown, but I've got two comments on Fliptown. First of all, there is a variant rule to use Texas Hold'em poker instead of poker. Always, always, always use that rule, because it's making poker hands is a part of the game, and you're trying to making a poker hand of anything other than just a pair. I found very, very difficult to do with just the normal rules of the game. With the Texas Hold'em rules, which are in the rulebook as a variant, you are more likely to make a more interesting poker hand, and therefore I think it improves the game. The second thing I want to say about Fliptown is the iconography was too small. It's really small, and people that I've played it with have struggled because the iconography is so small. But it's a nice game, and if you like flip and write games that are quite light and quite quick, then Fliptown is definitely for you. For me, Vienna is a good, solid Euro game. It's not my favourite game in the City Collection, but it's a good game. It's a Balloon and Books of Time. Now, this is really difficult to compare because It's a Balloon is a silly, fun party game, and Books of Time is a Euro game. And I have covered Books of Time. Again, Books of Time is board and dice. I did a sponsored playthrough of this game, and I have a very good relationship with board and dice. I didn't get on with Books of Time. I will be absolutely honest with you. I've played it 3 or 4 times, and it has now left my collection. I didn't get on with it. There were parts of the game that I liked, but there were other parts of the game that I didn't like. I felt the rulebook was bad. I think the rulebook was a bad rulebook, and there were a number of issues that I had with the rulebook that I struggled to get through. But once I'd got through them and I was playing the game I think was advertised as like 60 to 75 minutes. It was a 2.5 hour game. And I've spoken to them about this, and they said, well, everybody we've play tested with has been no more than 90 minutes a game. And every time I've spoken to somebody who's played the game, it's been like 2.5 hours. So yeah, I didn't quite get on with Books of Time, and it has now left my collection. It's a Balloon is a fun party game. It's a bit silly, and for the right moment, at the right time, potentially New Year's Eve after I've had a shandy, It's a Balloon might get played. So It's a Balloon is still in my collection. Books of Time is not in my collection. However, I'm going to give it to Books of Time. Surprisingly, I know, but I think Books of Time is the better game than It's a Balloon. But it just, of the type of game Books of Time is, I have hundreds of better ones. That's why it hasn't stayed in my collection. And Richard also is in the chat, says, yeah, Books of Time was too long. Yeah, it's not just me. Hoplomachus Victorum or the White Castle. Now, the White Castle is another game which is in a lot of people's top 10 games. I'm a huge fan of Israel and Shea, the designers of White Castle, and I do enjoy White Castle. I think White Castle is a good game. I don't, again, controversy time, I don't think it's as good a game as people say it is. A lot of people rave about this game. I thought it was a good game and I enjoyed it, but I don't rave about it. Hoplomachus Victorum, I think, is a phenomenal game. Absolutely phenomenal. And if you want to see an entire full campaign playthrough of Hoplomachus Victorum, go to my channel back to July. In July this year, on my birthday, I did a live stream where the plan was I would play an entire campaign of Hoplomachus Victorum. It is a solo game only. But I didn't finish it that day. And in fact, it took me 2 more live streams to finish it. It is an incredible game and I want to play it more. So, Hoplomachus Victorum. Nightmare Cathedral or Djinn? Right, I've got stuff to say about these. Nightmare Cathedral, again, Board and Dice. I have a very good relationship with Board and Dice, and I did a sponsored playthrough video of this when it was on crowdfunding. Djinn is from Hall Games. I have a good working relationship with the owner of Hall Games, and I think Djinn is an underrated game. If you haven't seen it, I did a playthrough of Djinn on the channel. I will always, always harbour bad feelings about that playthrough because I got a rule wrong. And I hate it when I get a rule wrong in a playthrough video. But if you are interested in Djinn, it's a super smart little medium weight Euro game. But it works really well. And there is a rule, something about the secret passages, that I think I got wrong in the video. If you do watch it and you can't find what I got wrong, please let me know and I'll find out and tell you. Nightmare Cathedral, this was a difficult one because, and again, complete honesty here, some of the games that I have done sponsored streams for, I have thought, that's a good game, I've enjoyed that, but then I've not enjoyed it enough to then keep the game or to play the game again. Nightmare Cathedral, I actively did not enjoy the game at all. And I'm hoping that didn't come out in the video because it was a sponsored video. And my job with those sponsored playthroughs is to help you make a decision about whether it's a kind of game for you by us playing it. But I did not enjoy Nightmare Cathedral at all. There were just, I just wasn't my kind of game at all. But yeah. So Djinn is a really good game and I think it's underrated. So definitely check out that one. Next up, Perspectives or Distilled. Well, we've spoken about Perspectives. Distilled is a really good game. Distilled is a recipe game, but it's not a problem that it's a recipe game because it literally is a game where you are getting the ingredients in order to brew different spirits. And Perspectives we've spoken about earlier on. I've enjoyed my 4 or 5 plays of Distilled. I'm not sure how much legs it has. And it's a shame because I have a really good relationship with the publisher and their next game, Luthier, is really good. And Luthier is going to be delivered at some point in 2025. And the thing is, when Luthier gets delivered, I'm going to have a copy of Luthier and I'm going to have a copy of Distilled. Distilled is never going to get played because Luthier, I think, is a much, much better game. But so Distilled and Perspectives. If that was Perspectives Box 2, which is so much better than Box 1. Box 1 is good, don't get me wrong. Box 2 is just so much better. I'm not sure about this. Which one did I feel is the better game? Oh, I can't do this one. I want to be able to skip. I'm sure there was a skip option. Oh, let's have a cup of tea. The problem is as well, these are very different games for different audiences. That's a Euro game that is much more replayable. I'm going to go Distilled. Made a decision. Right, Zoo Vardis or World Wonders? Easy, World Wonders. Zoo Vardis or Barcelona? Easy, Barcelona. Voidfall or, I mean, why is it comparing those two? I don't know why it's comparing those two, but we'll go with Voidfall. We're still early in the rankings. Once we get later on with this ranking system, what's going to happen is that it's going to start comparing ones that I've really liked together against ones that I haven't liked together. Whereas at the moment, it's still just throwing random things in. So 20 Strong or Legends of Andor Eternal Frost. I've enjoyed 20 Strong the few times that I've played it. It is a bit random, but there's a lot of decision space in 20 Strong, and I really like it as a system. Mother of Frankenstein or Evacuation. Again, we're comparing play once puzzle games with a Euro game. I'm going to go Evacuation. Mother of Frankenstein versus Star Wars deck building game. I'm going to go Mother of Frankenstein. I'm going to go Spellbook. Right, Pioneer Rails is a new one. This is Dranda Games. Again, I have a good working relationship with Dranda Games. And Pioneer Rails is a good game. It's another card-based flip and write game, but it's got to be Nucleum. Nucleum is the better of those two games. Pioneer Rails versus Skytear Horde. Now, again, if that was Skytear Horde Monoliths, because I think Monoliths is a much more improved version of the game. So Skytear Horde or Pioneer Rails. I think Pioneer Rails. Age of Innovation or Halls of Hegra. That's definitely Age of Innovation. Footprints versus Halls of Hegra. Well, see, Footprints is a 1 to 6 player game and Halls of Hegra is just a solo game. But I'm going to give it to Halls of Hegra. Yeah, definitely want to play Halls of Hegra more. Dice Manor or Footprints? I think Dice Manor. I think Dice Manor is the better of those two games. Rebuilding Seattle or Earth? Now, I'm going to lose some friends here because Earth, as I've mentioned earlier on, hugely popular game, lots of people's #1 game of the year and in most people's top 10. And Rebuilding Seattle, I don't think many people actually know about the game. But I do enjoy Earth. I do think it is a good game, but I have a couple of issues with Earth which make it not one of my favourite games, in that it's another game where you can get lucky or unlucky. You know, if the objectives are to collect 6 koala bears, I'm making it up here, and you manage to draw koala bears and the other player doesn't, then, you know, when you've got a game where you've got every single card is unique and every card is made up of so many different categories and icons, and then you get scoring conditions that are, oh, for the player who manages to get 7 cards of an odd numbered value. Yes, you're drawing a lot of cards unless you're choosing a lot of cards, but still there is the huge deck of cards issue with some people will get more lucky and not lucky. It is one of those things with the game. But it is a good game. I just think Rebuilding Seattle is a phenomenal game. So definitely Rebuilding Seattle. Anunnaki or Earth? Honestly, which one of those two would I play? And the other thing is, you can play Earth on Board Game Arena. And it's much, much, much better on Board Game Arena than it is in real life, because nobody's going to misread an icon or misplay a card. I think I might be the only content creator that would say Anunnaki is a better game than Earth. If I do go with this, if I do say that, I don't know. I really don't know. Earth is a good game. Earth is enjoyable to play. That's the thing. I do have fun when I'm playing Earth. And because I play it asynchronously on Board Game Arena, it's not taking up my time on it. I think the fact that I'm umming and ahhing about a hugely popular game that so many people have rated like the best game of the year, and a game which half flopped and went under people's radar, I'm going to go Anunnaki. Sorry, Inside Up Games. Right, The Warp or Bot Factory? It's going to be Bot Factory. The Warp or FTW is going to be FTW, I'm afraid. I did enjoy FTW a lot. Hegemony or Dune Imperium Uprising. Now, this is the first time that Dune Imperium Uprising has appeared, and I am a huge fan of Dune Imperium. And I've only played Dune Imperium Uprising once, and it was the 6-player version of it. But Hegemony is a fantastic game. Really, really solid game. For me, my personal preference is going to Dune Imperium. And I know I'm probably losing as many friends as I'm gaining with this. But Hegemony, as I've said before, Hegemony is a fantastic game. I struggle to play Hegemony. And I think Dune Imperium for me is a more enjoyable experience. Side Quest Nemesis or Cuzco. Cuzco is a fantastic game. This is one of my favourite games in the Steffenfeld City Collection. Excuse me. Steffenfeld City Collection. This is a re-implementation of Bora Bora. Out of those two, it's going to be Cuzco. As much as I like the Side Quest series of games, Cuzco is really good. Really, really enjoy Cuzco. Very, very much a Steffenfeld point salad game, but really enjoy it. Plantanubo or Great Western Trail New Zealand. It's Great Western Trail New Zealand. Plantanubo or Pyramido is Plantanubo. Pyramido or Marvel Age of Heroes. Pyramido was such a light, simple game, and I've only played it once. But it's such a different game to Marvel Age of Heroes, but I think it was really good and it worked. Earthborn Rangers or Evenfall. I'm going to give this one to Earthborn Rangers, but Evenfall is a good game. Evenfall or Mythwind. I'm going to give it to Evenfall. Mythwind or The Glade. I'm going to give it to Mythwind. Both very greeny tree games. Undaunted Battle of Britain or Star Trek Discovery Black Alert. Okay, so here we go again. It's another game from WizKids, and it's another one which I don't think quite worked. I really wanted to like Black Alert, and on the face of it, I thought the game was going to work really well. And after 2 or 3 games of it, I felt the game didn't quite work properly. There is a thing that can happen in the game, which is the burn, which can be caused if too many players do too much warping around or something like that. And the chance of that happening just seemed to be really, really high. I can't remember. I have live streamed this, and there were parts of this game that I thought were interesting, and there were parts of this game that I felt worked well, but then every game always ended up happening with like the burn and everybody loses, and I wasn't too keen on that. And Undaunted Battle of Britain, so we're going with Undaunted Battle of Britain. Hybris or Star Trek Discovery Black Alert. I'm actually going to go with Hybris on this one. Pirates of Maracaibo or Hoplomachus Remastered. I'm actually going to give this one to Pirates of Maracaibo. As much as I love the Hoplomachus system, Hoplomachus Remastered is effectively a skirmish. It's a tactical combat game. And I'm not normally a big fan of those games. I do like them when Chip Theory Games do them because they do them extremely well. But Pirates of Maracaibo, I think, is a more me style game. So we'll go with that one. Forest Shuffle or Hoplomachus Remastered. Oh, that's an interesting one. I think I'm going to go Forest Shuffle. And I said this again, I'm going to have to speed up because I've got 10 minutes left and I'm only a quarter of the way through. It's not going to happen. Books of Time or Vienna. Easy, Vienna. Books of Time or Flip Town. That's probably going to be Flip Town because it's shorter and quicker. Gin or Hoplomachus Victorum. 2 good games. One medium weight Euro game plays in about an hour and a half. The other one, solo game, takes 12 hours to play. But out of those 2 games, I prefer Hoplomachus Victorum. Gin or the White Castle. Right, now this might surprise people, and it's been a while since I've played Gin, but I think Gin might be the better game. I'm not sure about this one, not because I can't decide, but I haven't played both games enough, so I'm going to go with Gin. Well, this is an easy one, White Castle. That was White Castle or Nightmare Cathedral. World Wonders or Distilled is World Wonders. Barcelona or distilled is Barcelona. Zuvardis or distilled is distilled. Zuvardis or perspectives is perspectives. Zuvardis or Septima, Septima. Evacuation or voidfall, voidfall. Evacuation or 20 strong. Now, as I say, I have enjoyed 20 strong, and I think I'm going to give it to 20 strong because the core system is interesting, and you currently have 20 strong Solar Sentinels, 20 strong Hoplomachus Victoria, and 20 strong Too Many Bones. I haven't played the Too Many Bones one yet. Yeah, it's tricky because 20 strong does have the dice rolling and is a little random. I'm not sure. Not sure. Need to speed up, Paul. Need to speed up. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'm going to go 20 strong. I wasn't sure about that one. This one is Evacuation or Legends of Andor, and we're going in with Evacuation. Mother of Frankenstein or Legends of Andor. I'm going to go with Mother of Frankenstein. If you can hear a wailing in the background, it's Thor. It's not a baby. It is Thor. Thor has just been shut in, and every day when he gets shut in, he walks around the house wailing for about an hour. So just in case you hear wailing in the background, it is one of our cats. Spellbook or Legends of Andor? Spellbook. Star Wars deck building game or Legends of Andor? Honestly, I prefer to play Star Wars deck building game. Age of Innovation or Nucleum? Right, we're getting two of the big hitters here. I've already spoken about Nucleum. I've already spoken about Age of Innovation. Both of these games are a little bit outside of my ability to be able to do well. Because both of them are... I can understand that from a rules complexity point of view, I'm fine. I can understand both of these games, and I could teach you both of these games, and I would understand them from a rules mechanical point of view. I don't think I could play either of these games well enough to do well at. But which is the better game? I don't know. I really don't know. What do you think on the chat? I'm going to go with my decision or pick randomly. But what do you think? Age of Innovation or Nucleum? It's so easy just to give it to Nucleum because it is very, very good. But Age of Innovation is a... Try both arrows at the same time. Yeah, good idea, Kevin. Good idea. Okay, I'm going to give it to Nucleum on the grounds that Age of Innovation is a development of Terra Mystica and Nucleum is a new game. Age of Innovation or Pioneer Rails? That's Age of Innovation. Halls of Hegra or Pioneer Rails? I'm going to give this one to Pioneer Rails. Just Halls of Hegra or Skytear Horde? Both playable solo. I think Skytear Horde just because of the curve of the game that I mentioned earlier on with Halls of Hegra. Whereas I think for my plays of Skytear Horde, you're kind of in it all the way through the end. Even if it might look bad, you can still turn it round. Bot Factory or Rebuilding Seattle? Sorry, Vittel, but it's going to be Rebuilding Seattle. Bot Factory or Anunnaki? That's going to be Anunnaki. Bot Factory or Earth? Bot Factory is actually good. I've not played it for a while, but it is a good game. I think I'm going to go with Bot Factory with this one. I tell you what, Earth is probably going to end up quite low on my list, which is, it's going to upset Connor if he ever watches this video. FTW or Earth? I'm going to go with Earth on this one. FTW is a fun game, but I think Earth is the better game. Shoes Tactics or FTW? I'm going with FTW. Shoes Tactics or The Warp? We're going with The Warp. And Shoes Tactics or Dungeons and Dragons Onslaught? Yeah, so I can't remember Shoes Tactics that well. I do remember that Onslaught just didn't work for me. So we'll go with Shoes Tactics. Cuzco or Dune Imperium Uprising? Well, I love both of these games. Cuzco, for me, is one of the pinnacles of Stefan Feld's point salad-y style games. And I do really, really enjoy it. But I also enjoy Dune Imperium. I think I'm going to give this one to Cuzco. Based on the fact that... Oh, no, hang on a minute. I'm going to contradict I'm going to say based on the fact that Dune Imperium is a kind of re-implementation of... Uprising is a re-implementation of Dune Imperium. Cuzco is a re-implementation of Bora Bora. If I had the choice right now, which one would I play? Cusco. Right, there you go. Dune Imperium or Side Quest? Dune Imperium. Hegemony or Side Quest? Hegemony. Kutna Horror or Side Quest? Right. Which one did I enjoy the most? I actually enjoyed Side Quest more than Kutna Horror because I'm a big fan of the puzzle games. And Matthew's in the chat saying, is Cusco really different than Bora Bora? I don't believe it is. So maybe I should have removed this game right from the start, but I kept it. No, I think Cusco is an almost direct copy of Bora Bora. In fact, I don't know what the differences are, if there are any differences at all. Amygdala or Kutna Horror? This is Kutna Horror. Earthborn Rangers or Great Western Trail New Zealand? Right, we're getting to the painful part now. So Earthborn Rangers or Great Western Trail New Zealand? I'm going to give it to Great Western Trail New Zealand because I think it's the more polished game. Although Earthborn Rangers, as I say, I loved it, was fantastic. There was a lot of rules queries with it, and there was a lot of things that I needed clarification on, whereas Great Western Trail New Zealand was a smoother experience. Earthborn Rangers or Plantanubo is Earthborn Rangers. Evenfall or Plantanubo? I've kept Evenfall. I've got rid of Plantanubo, so Evenfall. Mythwind or Plantanubo? I'm going to give that to Plantanubo. Mythwind or Pyramido? I'm going to give that one to Mythwind. Pyramido or the Glade? I'm going to give that one to Pyramido. Marvel Age of Heroes or the Glade? Well, as I say, sorry Richard if you are watching this, but the Glade wasn't my kind of game at all. And Marvel Age of Heroes, although has issues, yeah. Pirates of Maracaibo or Undaunted Battle of Britain? I'm going with Pirates of Maracaibo. Forest Shuffle or Undaunted Battle of Britain? I'm going with... I think Forest Shuffle is probably more fun to play. Hoplomachus Remastered or Undaunted Battle of Britain? Both combat games. I mean, Hoplomachus Remastered you can play with teams. You can also play it solo. So I'm going to give this one to Hoplomachus. Yeah, I think it's the better game than Undaunted Battle of Britain. Oros or Undaunted Battle of Britain? That's Undaunted. Oros or Hybris? I'm going to give that one to Hybris. Oros or Star Trek Discovery Black Alert? I'm actually going to give this one to Oros. Because although Star Trek Discovery... I just felt there were... Oros worked as a game. It just didn't work for me because of the spatial puzzle. Whereas Star Trek Discovery, I think, had some issues with the game itself. So we're going to give that one to Oros. Hoplomachus Victorum or Vienna? Right, these are both good games, but it's going to Hoplomachus Victorum. Vienna or Gin? I'm going to give it to Gin. Vienna or White Castle? Haven't we had this one before? How good was Vienna? Vienna has no theme at all. It's another one like Cusco. It's a normal Steffenfeld medium weight point salad with no theme whatsoever. I'm going to give this one to Vienna. I think Vienna is the better game out of those two. It's quite a bit heavier, but I think I would prefer to play Vienna rather than White Castle. I probably would play White Castle over Flip Town. And Nightmare Cathedral against Flip Town. Flip Town. Nightmare Cathedral against Books of Time. Books of Time. Nightmare Cathedral against It's a Balloon. It's a Balloon. Voidfall versus World Wonders. Right, now these are both excellent games, and if I wouldn't be surprised if both of these games aren't in my top 10. But Voidfall, for me, is, yes, fantastic. World Wonders or 20 Strong? It's going to be World Wonders. 20 Strong or Barcelona? It's going to be Barcelona. 20 Strong or Distilled? I'm going to give it to Distilled, and I do want to give a shout out to David Digby, who designed the solo mode for Distilled. It's a really good solo mode. 20 Strong or Perspectives? 20 Strong is interesting because it's a solo game. It has dice, and I have live streamed it. I've done a couple of live streams of it, and it's quite tense and it's exciting. Perspectives, I haven't live streamed it because it's a game that me and Vicky play tested together, and I think Perspectives is a game I enjoyed more. 20 Strong or Septima? I really need to play Septima since getting the final version of the game. I'm not sure on this one. What do you think? What do you think in the chat? 20 strong or Septima? As I say, the general consensus on Septima is that it hasn't been received that well. I think a lot of people have been a bit meh over the game now that it's come out. I'm going to give it to 20 strong. Septima or Evacuation? Well, based on what I said about Evacuation earlier, I can't make this decision because I haven't really played Septima, whereas I have played enough of Evacuation. I can evaluate Evacuation in my mind. I can't evaluate Evacuation compared to Septima. So I don't know on this one. I'm just going to have to give it to something randomly, and I'm going to give it to Septima. Evacuation or Zuvardis, I'm giving that to Evacuation. Mother of Frankenstein or Zuvardis, I'm giving that to Mother of Frankenstein. Spellbook or Zuvardis is going to Spellbook. Star Wars deck building game or Zuvardis, I would enjoy playing Star Wars deck building game more. Legends of Andor or Zuvardis. I mean, Zuvardis is okay. It's a half-hour game. It does have negotiation between the players, which is something I'm not a big fan of, but I enjoy the game. And the fact that it's 20, 30 minutes, the fact that it's negotiation doesn't bother me as much as it would in other games. Legends of Andor, I didn't give a proper go. I played the tutorial, I was disappointed, and I decided to keep my original versions and move that one on. So, I don't know. I don't know with this one. I'm going to go Zuvardis. Dungeons & Dragons Trials of Tempest. I've spoken about this. I am keeping that game because I am hopeful that there are fixes to make that game better. So I'm going to go with Legends of Andor, which does actually work. Now, this one, I've got two games which, in my opinion, just do not work. I'm going to go with Trials of Tempest because I felt there's potential there, whereas Archaeologic was just a big miss. Rebuilding Seattle or Nucleum. It's given me two really, really good games again. And I tell you what, I am going to give that to Rebuilding Seattle. I actually think Nucleum is probably the better game. No, wait a minute. Ooh, I mean, I'd go with Rebuilding Seattle. Because it depends what we're doing here. Are we going with games that I would prefer to play, or are we going with games which I feel are better games? Nucleum is probably a better game than Rebuilding Seattle. I'm going to go Rebuilding Seattle because I would prefer to play that than Nucleum. I really do like the game. This one, however, I think as much as I want to play Anunnaki more, I think we're going to go Nucleum with this one. Anunnaki or Age of Innovation? Oh, I'm going to go Age of Innovation. Anunnaki or Pioneer Rails? I'm going to go Anunnaki. Bot Factory or Pioneer Rails? I'm going Bot Factory. We're over halfway through. I pretty much have 5 o'clock. If I'm not done by 5 o'clock, I am going to be in a lot of trouble. Well, maybe 5:30. I'm still going to be in a lot of trouble. Earth or Pioneer Rails? I'm going to give this one to Earth, I think. Yes. FTW or Pioneer Rails? I'm going to give this one to... I'm going to give this one to Pioneer Rails. Skytear Horde or FTW? I'm going to give it to Skytear Horde. Skytear, who knows? Halls of Hegra or FTW? Don't get me wrong, FTW is a great game. It's a little fun game that plays really quickly and is really clever. I want to give Halls of Hegra another go. So, Dice Manor or FTW is Dice Manor. FTW or Footprints? Honestly, I'd probably prefer to play FTW. The graphic design of Footprints, and I know I've mentioned this before, the Warp or Footprints? I'll go with the Warp. Shoes Tactics or Footprints? I can't remember Shoe Tactics well enough. I'm going to go Footprints on this one. There is a good game in there. It just needed better graphic design. Great Western Trail New Zealand or Cuzco? I'm going to go Great Western Trail New Zealand. It is the heavier game. And I love both of these games. I think both of these games are going to end up in my top 10. But that's Great Western Trail New Zealand. Cuzco or Earthborn Rangers? Now, I'm going to go Earthborn Rangers. Evenfall or Cuzco? Cuzco. Evenfall or Dune Imperium Uprising? Dune Imperium Uprising. Evenfall or Hegemony? As I said, which one would I prefer to play? I would actually get more enjoyment out of playing Evenfall because it's shorter, it's less prone to other players playing by the wrong rules and you not realizing it. It's a bit of an issue that I have with asymmetric games, is that I have played too many asymmetric games where it turns out one of the players was playing by the wrong rules and nobody spotted it because they've got their own rules. And in some cases, that player was me. And that kind of spoilt the game for everybody. So I think asymmetric games, especially ones that are heavily asymmetric, have a fragility to them, which people don't talk about when they're talking about the game, but I find it can be a bit of a problem. So out of these two, I would have a better time playing Evenfall because I know we'd all be playing by the same rules, we'd all be playing by the right rules, and the overhead, the mental overhead, would be less. I think Hegemony is an amazing game though. Plantanubo or Hegemony? Based on what I've just said about fiddly complex games, I'm gonna give this one to Hegemony. Plantanubo or SideQuest Nemesis? I think I had a better time playing SideQuest than Plantanubo because of the complexity. It's nice to see Evenfall getting some love in the chat. And if you haven't tried Evenfall, definitely check it out. Kutnahora or Plantanubo? Yeah. I think I enjoyed Plantanubo more. I think. But it's been a while. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about this, actually. No, I'm going to lean to Kutnahora on this one. Right, Plantanubo or Amygdala, that's Plantanubo. Mythwind or Amygdala, that's Mythwind. Pyramido or Amygdala, that's Pyramido. Marvel Age of Heroes or Amygdala, Marvel Age of Heroes. This is now filtering out the bottom of the lists because I've got Amygdala and the Glade, and neither of these games I enjoyed. Neither of these games are games that I would choose to play. But out of the two of them, I would probably play the Glade more than Amygdala. Hoplomachus, now we're back to the top of the list. Hoplomachus Victorum or Pirates of Maracaibo? Hoplomachus Victorum has a very special place for me. Not because I played it on my birthday, but there is something about the feel of the game and the amount of... I love the chip theory games philosophy, and the way that they design games is that they throw in so much passion and so much thought and so much effort into their games. Pirates of Maracaibo is a fantastic game, but I'm giving this one to Hoplomachus. Djinn or Pirates of Maracaibo? Well, I haven't played Pirates of Maracaibo with the Commanders expansion yet, but this is the base game. We're going to give this one, I think, to Pirates of Maracaibo. Djinn or Forest Shuffle? I do have fond memories of Djinn, but it keeps asking me to try and remember it, and I can't. I think I'd prefer to play Djinn. And I think Djinn is one of those games, again, which not a lot of people know about. Vienna or Forest Shuffle? I'm going to go with Forest Shuffle. Vienna or Hoplomachus Remastered? I'm going to go Vienna. White Castle or Hoplomachus Remastered? Probably White Castle. Flip Town or Hoplomachus Remastered? Hoplomachus. Flip Town or Undaunted Battle of Britain? We'll go with Undaunted. Flip Town or Hybris? I'm gonna go Hybris. New Year's resolution, play Hybris again. Other New Year's resolution, play Halls of Hegra again. Oros or Flip Town? I'm gonna go Flip Town. Oros or Books of Time? I'm gonna go Books of Time. Oros or It's a Balloon? I'm gonna go It's a Balloon. Nightmare Cathedral or Oros? I'm gonna go Oros. Nightmare Cathedral or Star Trek Discovery Black Alert? I'm gonna go Star Trek Discovery. Right, we're back to the top of the list again. Voidfall or Rebuilding Seattle? Two of my favourite games from 2023. Both great games. but Voidfall wins. World Wonders or Rebuilding Seattle? It's going to be World Wonders. It is the better game. Rebuilding Seattle or Barcelona? Ugh. I'm going to go Barcelona. Rebuilding Seattle or Distilled? We're going to go Rebuilding Seattle. Nucleum or Distilled? We're going to go Nucleum. Age of Innovation or Distilled? We're going to go with Age of Innovation. Anunnaki or Distilled? I'm going to go... See, I also can't forgive Cranio for the rulebooks for this game not being great. I mean, in this day and age, with the amount of people who can do rulebooks and the amount of native English speaking editors, there were parts of the Anunnaki rulebook and parts of the expansion rulebooks which were awful, really awful. And again, in my sort of thing of holistically treating these games as a whole, did that affect my experience of the game? Yes, it did. Because if I'm struggling to learn a game from the rulebook, it's going to impact on my enjoyment. This is a tricky one. Because I don't like Distilled as much as a lot of other people do. I think it's a good game. I'm just not sure how much depth there is to Distilled once you've played it a few times. And then you have that bit where there's the randomness, which can completely screw you over. I'm going to go Anunnaki. Bot Factory or Distilled? I'm going to go Bot Factory. Bot Factory is a good game. Earth or Distilled? I'm going to go Earth. Pioneer Rails or Distilled? I'm going to go Pioneer. This is a good system, this, because it's really interesting because you get, oh, this is obvious, this is less obvious, this is, oh, and then, oh. And because it knows these games are now in the middle of my thing. Which one's going to win? Which one? Pioneer Rails or Distilled? Do I want to upset Aidan or do I want to upset Dave? This is the question. I'm going to go Pioneer Rails with this one. Sorry, Dave. Skytear Horde or Distilled? Right, again, if that was Skytear Horde Monoliths, it would be higher. But I'm going to go Distilled. Skytear Horde or Perspectives? Perspectives. Skytear Horde or 20 Strong? 20 Strong, but it would be the other way round if it was Monoliths. Skytear Horde or Septima? Again, you're making me make a decision I can't make because I've not really played Septima since it came out. So I'm going to go with Septima on this one. Evacuation or Skytear Horde? I'll go with Evacuation. I'm going to go with Mother of Frankenstein. I'm going to go with Spellbook. I'm going to go with Star Wars The Deck Building Game. But Skytear Horde or Zuvardis? I'm going to go Skytear Horde. Halls of Hegra or Zuvardis? I'll go Halls of Hegra. Dice Manor or Zuvardis? I'll go Dice... I'm actually going to go Zuvardis on this one. Dice Manor or Legends of Andor? I'm going to go Dice Manor. FTW or Legends of Andor? I'll go FTW. The Warp? Yeah, we'll go with the Warp. Footprints or Legends of Andor? I'm going to go Footprints. Shoes Tactics or Legends of Andor? I can't remember Shoe Tactics that well. It was good, though. We'll go with that one. D&D Onslaught or Legends of Andor? I'm going to go Legends of Andor. Right, here we go. So I've spoken about these games before. These are both from WizKids. They're both Dungeons and Dragons themed games. And I felt they both had some issues. However, the issues I had with Onslaught were not that the game didn't work. It's just there were parts of it that didn't quite work as well for me. Whereas Trials of Tempest, I actually think does not work as a game. So Onslaught wins that one. Right. Hoplomachus Victorum or Great Western Trail New Zealand? Arg! You're doing it to me. You're doing it to me. Right. Oh. I don't know. It's painful. Why did I agree to do this stream? Why didn't I just sit downstairs and read a book instead. That would have been much more relaxing. I'm going to go Great Western Trail New Zealand. Although I have so much love for Hoplomachus Victorum, Great Western New Zealand is great, and it's got a great solo mode as well. Earthborn Rangers or Hoplomachus Victorum. Now, this is a difficult one. This is a really difficult one. One is a solo 12-hour campaign game. Oh dear. Thor sounds like he's in pain. Earthborn Rangers, as I've talked about, fantastic game. Campaign-driven, card play system, dodgy rulebook, and lots of rules queries on some of the cards. But I'm going to go Earthborn Rangers. Cusco or Hoplomachus Victorum. Again, both great games. I'm going to go Hoplo. Cusco or Pirates of Maracaibo. I'm going to go Cusco. I think I prefer Cusco to Pirates of Maracaibo. Dune Imperium Uprising or Pirates of Maracaibo. I'm going to go Dune Imperium. Evenfall or Pirates of Maracaibo. Now, these are both published sort of by DLP Games. Pirates of Maracaibo is actually Games Up, but through DLP Games. Evenfall is Nanox through DLP Games. So DLP Games are the main publisher for both of these, but they're just sort of the redistributor. Out of these two games, which do I prefer? They're both a similar complexity level. I think I enjoy both of them about the same. And I haven't played either of them with the new expansion yet. I'm going to go Pirates of Maracaibo. Evenfall or Djinn? I'm going to go Evenfall, just to balance things up a bit. Djinn or Hegemony? That's going to be Hegemony. Djinn or Side Quest? Probably going to be Djinn. Forest Shuffle or Side Quest? Probably Forest Shuffle. I think as I get tired, my decision-making process starts to fall apart. 10-minute warning. I know, I'm not going to get done by 5. If somebody can send an apology to Vicky for me, I'm going to be a bit later. So Vienna or SideQuest Nemesis? SideQuest Nemesis keeps popping up. Because it's in the middle, that's the thing. Vienna or SideQuest Nemesis? Ugh. The puzzles were really good, but I'm going to go Vienna. White Castle. Hoplomachus Remastered or Side... Yeah, Hoplomachus Remastered. Undaunted Battle of Britain or SideQuest? Undaunted. Hybris or SideQuest? I'm going to go SideQuest. Hybris versus Kutnahora. We're going to go Kutnahora. Hybris versus Plantanubo. Plantanubo. Hybris versus Mythwind. If this was the reprint of Mythwind that had all of the issues fixed, it would be a different situation. But Mythwind at the moment, I'm not going to say unplayable, but I don't want to play it until the fixes have come out. Even though they might only be minor fixes. I'm going to go Hybris with this one. Fliptown or Mythwind. I think I'm going to give it to Fliptown. Books of Time or Mythwind, we'll give it to Mythwind. Books of Time or Pyramido, I'm going to give it to Pyramido. Books of Time or Marvel Age of Heroes. I'm going to go Marvel Age of Heroes. I had less issues with that than I did with that one. Books of Time or The Glade. I'm going to give that one to Books of Time. I did actually enjoy that more than I did The Glade. But again, that's just because The Glade is not my kind of game at all. So this is going to go to It's a Balloon, definitely. I hope I'm picking the right one. I hope I'm picking the one to stay rather than the one that goes. Otherwise, the entire list is going to be back to front. Oros or The Glade. I'm going to get rid of... I'm going to choose Oros. The Glade or Star Trek Discovery. And we're going to go Star Trek Discovery. Right, here we go. 2 games that I did not enjoy at all. I did not enjoy either of these games. I just want to remove both of these games from the ranking system. I could just press the trash button on both of them. I liked the action selection mechanism in Nightmare Cathedral. It was the only thing that I did like. So we'll go with that one. Oh, I've just clicked. I clicked the wrong button, didn't I? I clicked the one to get rid of there. Clicking the one I'm keeping. Right. We're in the top again. Great Western Trail New Zealand or Voidfall. Again, these are top 2 or 3 games for me of the year. It's got to be Voidfall. It has to be Voidfall. Voidfall is always the answer. Right, this is an interesting one because these games are very different. World Wonders is like a 45-minute game or a 1-hour game that's just really nice, really accessible, simple rules, really clever. And Great Western Trail New Zealand is a 3-hour heavy Euro. Which of those would I prefer to play the most? Both of them at the same time. I have 2 hands and 2 eyes. Great Western Trail New Zealand. I'm angling towards the heavier side of games. Great Western Trail. Earthborn Rangers or World Wonders? Earthborn Rangers is going to give me such an experience when I do eventually get to play it. Hoplomachus Victorum or World Wonders? Hoplo. Cuzco or World Wonders? Probably Cuzco. Dune Imperium or World Wonders? Dune Imperium. Again, World Wonders is losing out here because of my tendency to go for slightly heavier games. But World Wonders is a fantastic game. Pirates of Maracaibo or World Wonders? Actually, honestly, World Wonders. Pirates of Maracaibo or Barcelona? Barcelona. Pirates of Maracaibo or Rebuilding Seattle? Rebuilding Seattle. Pirates of Maracaibo or Nucleum? Again, this is the whole, which one would I prefer to play? Well, I'd prefer to play Pirates of Maracaibo, even though I know Nucleum is the better game. But I'd prefer to play Pirates of Maracaibo because there is less brain intensity for me to do. Oh, yeah. I'm struggling here because I know Nucleum is the better game. It's been a while since I played Pirates of Maracaibo. I do remember enjoying it. It's my list. I know. Okay, we're going to go Pirates of Maracaibo. Oh, David Turtsy's just unfriended me. Oh, no. Right, Evenfall or Nucleum. Again. I'm going to go Evenfall. I'm going to lose so many friends over this. Right, here we go. Hegemony or Nucleum. Both games, which I've said are fantastic games. I respect both of these games. They are both amazing games, but I won't ever be able to play either of these games properly. Hegemony, because of the overweight, the burden of an asymmetric game and the worry that people are playing it wrong and stuff like that, and Nucleum just because I'm not good at it. Out of the two, I'm going with Nucleum. Nucleum is my choice. Hegemony or Age of Innovation? Age of Innovation. Hegemony or Anunnaki? I'm actually going to go with Hegemony on this one. Jin or Anunnaki? I'm going to go Jin. Forest Shuffle or Anunnaki? I'll go Forest Shuffle. Vienna or Anunnaki? I do have fond memories of Vienna, but I also have fond memories of Anunnaki. I'm going to go Vienna. White Castle or Anunnaki? I'm going to go White Castle. Hoplomachus Remastered or Anunnaki? I'm going to go Anunnaki with that one. Hoplomachus Remastered or Bot Factory? I think I'm going to go Bot Factory. I actually think Hoplomachus Remastered is going to be quite low on this list, but it is an exceptionally good game. It is a really good game if you like chip theory game style skirmish combat games. Earth or Hoplomachus Remastered? Now, out of these two, again, Earth might end up dropping out of my top 10, which is shocking. I'm going to go Hoplomachus Remastered. Earth or Undaunted Battle of Britain? I'm I'm going to say Undaunted. Earth or Side Quest Nemesis. I'm going to go Earth. Side Quest or Pioneer Rails. I'm going to go... My middle is going to be all... yeah. Side Quest or Distilled. I'll go Side Quest. Kootenai Horror or Distilled. I'll go Distilled. I'm less bothered about what's in the middle of the list because at the end of today, we're going to have a top 10. Kootenai Horror or Perspectives? Perspectives. Kootenai Horror or 20 Strong? I got more excitement out of 20 Strong, so 20 Strong. Kootenai Horror or Septima? I'm going to give this one to Kootenai Horror just because, as I say, I can't really evaluate Septima at the moment. I'm going to give this one to Plantanubo. I'm going to give Hybris over Septima. Oh dear, this is a tricky one. I can't. This is one I can't do. So we're going to go Hybris. Fliptown or Septima? We'll go Fliptown. Mythwind or Septima? I think I'm going to go Septima. Evacuation or Mythwind? I'm going to go Evacuation. Mythwind or Mother of Frankenstein? Going with Mother of Frankenstein. Going with Spellbook. Going with Star Wars The Deck Building Game. Going with Skytear Horde. Going with Halls of Hegra. Mythwind or Zuvardis? Actually, probably Mythwind. Pyramido or Zuvardis? I don't own either of these games. Let's go Pyramido. Marvel Age of Heroes or Zuvardis? Let's go Marvel. Books of Time or Zuvardis? We're getting bottom of the list again, so I'm just going to do these quickly because this is kind of near the bottom of the list, and I'm less bothered about this one. The one that disappears is the one that's staying, and I'm doing this to try and speed up. Yep. Yep. And yep. And ag. Both games that I felt didn't work, but that one worked less badly. Right. These are, I'm pretty sure these two are the bottom two games on my list. Or maybe not. Yeah. Okay. There we go. We are done. It is 5 o'clock. We are finished. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next year. No, we need to do the top 10. So here is the list. And yeah, they, as I said, I mentioned at the start, Pub Meeple, it's a free system. You can use it, but they do take donations, and I will be donating to them either today or in the new year. So thank you very much to the Pub Meeple team for doing this. And let's start at the bottom. So number 59, Archaeology. Well, let's just skip these bottom 10 because, or even the bottom 20. The ones that are surprising me, games starting at the bottom that I would like to play again. So no. The Warp I might give one other go. FTW is a game I would definitely play again. Quick, fun, little card game. Dice Manor I would play again. Zuvardis I would play again. It's a Balloon I would play again. Because it's a fun party game. Books of Time, I'm surprised that's there because I would actually go out of my way not to play that game again. Age of Heroes, I'm waiting on a tweak to that one. Pyramido I'd play again. Mythwind waiting for the second printing. Yeah. Then we have got the middle of the range. So Plantanubo, again, I evaluated it fairly, but I moved that one on. Let's go to the top 10. Okay, so number 10 in Paul's top 10 games of all time. And the surprising ones. So games which I would have absolutely guaranteed would have been in my top 10 games of the year if I'd have done this as a video myself and not as the Pub Meeple ranking system. Nucleum. Nucleum would have been absolutely in my top 10 games of 2023. Oddly, it's not come out that way, but it would be, I think. Hegemony. I think Hegemony would probably be, if I was to have taken all of these games and sat down and worked it out myself, probably in my top 5 of 2023. I have that much respect for the game. even though personally, I might never play it again. I've played it enough and I've experienced it. World Order, which is their new one that they've got coming out next year, that's the one for me, which is going to be the one that I play of theirs. So Hegemony and Nucleum, I feel bad that they are not in my top 10. So let's look at my actual top 10. Pirates of Maracaibo. It is a very good game. And as I mentioned, I am doing a live stream this Friday of Pirates of Maracaibo with the expansion. Rebuilding Seattle, number 9. I'm glad that Rebuilding Seattle is in my top 10 games of the year because I would have put it in there. I think it is well deserving. I think Rebuilding Seattle is a great game. And yeah, I think it's really, really good. Barcelona, number 8. Doesn't surprise me. Barcelona is a really good game. And out of all of the games that Board and Dice did last year, I would have thought Barcelona would be in my top 10. I would have assumed Nucleum would have been higher. Oh yeah, let's just talk about Earth. There you go. Earth 23. Do I feel bad about that? Yeah, a little bit. But I've played Earth a lot. And I think the more and more I've played it, although I enjoy the game and it's a gorgeous production and they've done a fantastic job with the game, I still find it a bit just random and what cards you get and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. As I said, I feel a little like an outcast compared to so many other content creators that have rated Earth their number 1 game of the year, and I've got it down as 23. Sorry. Anyway, where were we? Barcelona at number 8. Yeah, World Wonders at number 7. So that doesn't surprise me. It surprises me a little bit that it's that high. But yeah, World Wonders is a very, very good game. I really enjoy World Wonders. Dune Imperium Uprising. Yeah, I had to give that. That's the only questionable one because I have only actually played Dune Imperium Uprising once, and that was the 6-player version. But because I enjoy the Dune Imperium system and I know quite a lot about Dune Imperium Uprising, I think it is a better game, and therefore it's an improvement on something that I already find useful. So that's the only one that I should it have been in there or not sure. Now, Cuzco, that's a little bit of a surprise that it's that high. I think the game is really good, but would I have put Cuzco above World Wonders? Would I have put it above Barcelona? Maybe I did. Yeah, Cuzco is a really good game. I really enjoy that. And interestingly enough, I only played the original version of Cuzco, which was Bora Bora, once, and I didn't enjoy it. I obviously was not in the right frame of mind at the time because Cuzco is almost a direct conversion of Bora Bora, and I really enjoy Cuzco. Hoplomachus Victorum, there's no surprise to me that that is in my top 5. Earthborn Rangers, that is a little bit of a surprise that it's that high up, but I cannot underestimate the hugely positive feelings that I had after I played that game with JP where we started the campaign. And that isn't on the public channel. I don't think it's on the public channel. If you are a patron supporter of mine, it was a video that I did about a year ago. Maybe it was JP's aftershave. Maybe he was wearing something that affected my emotions, probably. But I got such a good vibe out of it. And I have to make another New Year's resolution is that I need to get back to Earthborn Rangers. Whether I play it solo or not, I probably don't want to play it solo. I probably want to play it with somebody else, but I definitely need to play more Earthborn Rangers. Great Western Trail New Zealand, I have no problem with that being second. If that was definitely going to be in my top 10. I am surprised Earthborn Rangers is actually that high, but this top 10 is all fluid. It is all fluid. But there is absolutely no surprise that Voidfall is my number 1 game of 2023. And spoilers, I'd already said Voidfall was my top 10, my number 1 game of 2023 at the end of 2023. And that hasn't changed. I think Voidfall is a masterpiece of a game. Yes, it's complex. Yes, setup takes you an hour. But oh boy, Voidfall has been an incredible gaming experience for me, both solo, multiplayer. I haven't actually played the co-op version of it yet. I have played the solo version, which is very similar to the co-op version, but Voidfall is a game which is just incredible, and I love it. So there we go. That is it. Now, just before we wrap up my last live stream of the year, I wanted to say a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. This video has not been sponsored in any way. Neither was the 3-hour live stream that I did a few days ago with Derek. So these videos have been created due to the support of my Patreon campaign. All of my ad revenue goes to charity. So if you're watching this video and you think, oh, but Paul's going to make loads of money out of all of the ads for this video will probably get a lot of views because top 10 videos tend to. But all of my ad revenue goes to charity, every single penny of it. And I normally give away about between £400 and £500 each month to charity. That is how much money I make from advertising revenue on YouTube. So, and if you think I'm crazy, lots of people have said to me that I'm crazy for doing that and I should keep the money for myself and buy something nice. I don't want to. My Patreon supporters fund my channel. The support that I get from them financially is good, and therefore I am able to give away all of that ad revenue for charity. So that makes me feel good. Hopefully it makes you feel good. If you are watching this video, your view has raised a tiny amount of money, but all of those views added up together will contribute to giving hundreds of pounds to a charity. We haven't decided what the charity is yet for December. But I will be announcing it in my next monthly video log. So that is everything. A huge thank you to everybody who's been watching today. And a big thank you to everybody who's watching afterwards. Let me know in the comments of the video which of these games, which decision you most disagreed with. And also let me know which one you most agree with. But also, I've enjoyed doing today. It's been painful at times, really painful getting me to make decisions. I'm surprised by the results. The pub meeple system is good. It's not perfect. Would it be different if I sat down and did it myself? Very probably. But it's roughly right, I think. And I also hope that you've enjoyed the general chat today, because these videos are an opportunity for me to share my true, honest thoughts about games. And let's not forget, I have slated some games today. And I have said that these games are not good games, and these games are flawed, and these games did not work for me at all. And some of the games that I've spoken about today are from publishers who are people who, clients of mine, people who pay me. I have a job thanks to these people. And if they're watching this video, they might be a little upset, but I'm being honest. I take this opportunity to be honest with you and tell you my honest feelings on these games. And other people might like these games. I mean, some of these games down at the bottom of this list, some people might absolutely love these games, and that's fine. They just didn't work for me. We'll do the same next year, but maybe I won't leave it as long as December 31st next year, because to be honest, I could have done this list in the summer. So maybe that's what I'll do. Maybe for my birthday next year. Now, next year, my birthday will be on let me just look it up. It's July 3rd, for those people that want to get me a package of cakes. It's a Thursday. So, let's do it. Let's do my birthday next year. I will do this, but for 2024. It's a date. Set your reminders. 8 o'clock in the evening, Thursday, the 3rd of July. Oh, no, I can't. It's the Games Club. In the afternoon. So 2 p.m. on Thursday, the 3rd of July, 2025, I will be doing my top 10 games of 2024. But yes, for now, we're all done. Thank you for watching, and I will see some of you on Friday for Pirates of Maracaibo. Have a good New Year, everybody. Take care.